training and receive the career services, which is a huge part of this program, which is some of the things that you've been probably challenged with as you look for a good job that you want to do versus just a job. And I think that this will resonate with some of the things that you've been experienced in these rather difficult times. Eligibility, so we kind of already talked about that, so that'll be a short part of this. But knowing that I will go fight the good fight, because obviously I kind of view our NATO partners as one of us from a military perspective. We fight shoulder to shoulder, and when you make all the flags green, you can barely tell the difference between them. And then we'll get how to apply, next steps, and let Alex walk you through that, and then let you open up any questions that you have about the program. So you've been dealing with Jennifer. She helps me in the foundation. I'm Roland Gossage. I started the foundation just over a year ago, and Alex as our representative and our very close partner at Lighthouse Labs. So that's who everybody is on this side alone, and you gave us a great introduction to yourself. So I served for 10 years. I actually started in 2003. I started in 1993, retired in 2003, right after sort of 9/11 type of thing when we were in Afghanistan. I was a non-commissioned officer, and I did both full-time and part-time work there. And I also participate with my regiment later in the association and help them raise funds and a lot of the ceremonial guard type stuff still today. Our regiment does both the Queen's Plate here in Toronto as well as the Royal Winter Fair and the Horse Show, which unfortunately this year these things are not happening because of COVID. So a little bit less involvement, which is why I'm glad we kind of have this program, because it allows me to kind of keep close to our veterans and keep helping them through this difficult time. High level goals is that we really want to help veterans and their families. So it's not just the veteran, but looking at the family as a whole, because really to us, that is this one unit. No pun intended there. But we also want to work with the private sector in helping them understand that they have this amazing asset in our veterans, and knowing that this is a great place to up-level some of their talent by leveraging this community to drive their economic value inside of their organizations. And the other thing too is obviously we're all Ontario citizens. We all live here, contribute taxes and stuff like that. And we want to see that Ontario becomes a global powerhouse when it comes to economics. And we believe that veterans can really assist with this. Ontario being the largest province, largest number of veterans, all that sort of stuff. Obviously with our nation's capital and Ontario's capital both being very close to each other, we do believe that this is something that is sort of near dear to our hearts, because we all live, work, and play in Ontario. So I started the foundation really to bring awareness to some of the struggles and that veterans do have after they release, whether it's they're just transitioning or they've been out for 20 years. We really want to help them not only survive but thrive, both mentally and from a financial standpoint, because those two things kind of go hand in hand, right? People always say money doesn't buy happiness, but it certainly doesn't hurt. So we want to make sure that those things both get done, and that they open a new chapter in their life, something that's exciting, and they feel that they're rewarded and have the elements to their work-life balance that is meaningful. I'm going to turn over to Alex to talk about Lighthouse Labs. So we go, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Roland. So Ollie Lighthouse is a technical education institution, and we focus on two things: data science and web development. So we were founded in 2013, so we're a pretty recent company by a group of developers who were looking at this vast technical talent gap in Canada and thought that there had to be a better way to efficiently train people to become developers. So since then, we've graduated over 2,000 developers into the Canadian market, which is an accomplishment that we're all very proud of. And since then, we have launched, as I mentioned, a data science bootcamp as well. So I know that was something you're interested in. All of our programs are 12 weeks in length, and they're called a bootcamp for a reason, which I'll jump into in the next couple of slides.
Okay.
Okay, so our program is designed for beginners. We're not expecting to have people to have like our students to have coding experience before they come in. Of course, it's definitely helpful to know what coding is before you jump in, but the goal of the program is to transform you into a professional developer. So you're going to come to understand coding logic using popular languages and frameworks like JavaScript and Ruby on Rails. Actually, 80% of our program is JavaScript based. And you're also going to learn to think like a programmer by building software from the ground up. So with this particular program, there are four main components that will launch you into like your first junior developer role. So the first is technical training, obviously. So that is that 12-week program that I spoke about, and it's training in both front end and back end development. We also have final projects. So the last 2 weeks of your training is actually just spent working in a group setting, building an app of your dreams. So it can really be whatever it is that you want, and you're just going to spend 2 weeks with lots of mentor help actually building that from the ground up. So it's just a great way to build your confidence in your coding skills and get you ready for that first job. There's also career services. So starting in week 5, we actually start the career services portion of this program. So it's things like adjusting your resume, interview prep, and things like that. And wellness support, which Jen and Roland will talk about at the end of the presentation. So this is a breakdown of what the 12-week program actually looks like. So prior to week 1 and week 2, there's actually about 40 to 60 hours of prep work that you'll need to do. That you can do on your own time. You can get started anytime you want. We can send you the link today and you can have a look at it. But it's just to make sure that starting on day 1, everyone is on equal footing. It's also to help get your computer set up with the like virtual machine and other things that you might need depending on the laptop that you've got. So week 1 and 2 is fundamentals. Weeks 3, 4, and 5 are backend, which is like servers, cookies, HTTP data structures. There's a week of front end in there, so really big focus on HTML and CSS. And then another week of databases, which we focus primarily on SQL and Postgres for that. Week 6, you're going to do a midterm that's also in groups. So I believe you build like a food takeout app for a restaurant. Week 7 and 8 is those are notoriously tough weeks. So we do React for those 2 weeks. React is by far one of the most important frameworks for you to know to apply for those developer positions in Canada. Employers are looking for it. It's almost like a must-have. And then weeks 9 and 10 are Ruby and Ruby on Rails. That's just to get you used to learning a whole new language, so that at the end of the program, you can actually feel comfortable learning new languages on your own. And then finally, after Ruby, we do jump into those final 2 weeks of projects that I talked about.
Good.
So what will you be able to create? So our curriculum was created to simulate a real developer's job environment. So you're going to be exposed to industry relevant technologies and then immediately reinforce that knowledge by building applications and completing daily programming projects. And that's specifically relevant right now. Since COVID, we've had to move all of our programming completely online. So we're using a whole bunch of different technologies. And part of the reason for that is to make sure that when you do start your job, you're ready for that. So you're super used to Zoom. You've maybe played around with Discourse a little bit and other things. So you're prepared for even a freelance position should you want to do that in a fully remote work environment. Okay, so there are 5 kind of main points about the technical training that I want to make sure that I leave you with. The first is that the program is super hands-on. So there's actually only 2 hours of lecture per day from 10 to 12. The rest of the time is just hands-on keyboard coding away. The reason for that is that our curriculum is project-based. So as I said, you're going to be developing mini apps and working on industry projects throughout. It's the way we think developers learn best. We pretty much have cut a lot of the theory out of our program that you would learn in a typical 4-year computer science degree. We don't think it's necessary for you to actually land that job. The other thing is mentor help. So on-demand access to mentors for at least 8 hours a day. So anytime you have a question or need help, doesn't matter that you're sitting in your living room, you can click a button and a mentor is going to pop into a Zoom meeting and help you out with your code. The reason for that is that our program is extremely fast paced. So we don't want you getting stuck for too long on one problem. We want you to ask for as much help as you need. So you need to be prepared for about 10-hour days. And as I mentioned, there is that 60 hours of prep that you need to do as well. So definitely an intensive program, but it is for such a short duration that intensity is possible. And finally, it's fully online. So fully remote mentorship, lectures, and student engagement as well.
Good. Can I ask a question?
Of course.
For job search, or let me say, if you're working for freelance, even getting some projects in the terms of making money, do you have any kind of support?
Totally, yes. Our career services team will help you land your first role, whatever that is. We're going to suggest that you probably don't take like a freelance role as your first job outside of boot camp. That's just because we want to make sure that you have the mentorship that you need in that first 6 months. We kind of think that like your first job is just an extension of the program, where you continue to hone in on those skills and ask as many questions as you need of your company.
And also no Python, right? I mean,
no.
You talk about Java, CSS, HTML, I understand all of those, but for data science, you are not using Python.
So this particular program that I'm talking about is our web development program. Okay. So we don't cover Python. We focus pretty much 80% on JavaScript. But in our data science program, we do use Python.
Okay.
So the good news is also that we have partners. So Bank of Montreal, which is also the Bank of the Canadian Armed Forces, they have a military first hiring initiative. They are, amongst other things, because there's a ton of companies, and my software company is one of the clients of Lighthouse Labs, is that they are going to be taking our candidates and having a look at them and trying to match them to roles that they have inside the organization. We're also talking to some other employers as well to further leverage that corporate will that's happening in Canada to put military personnel at the top of their hiring list.
Perfect.
Yeah. So Ollie, these two last points here. So Lighthouse sees a 93% employment rate within 120 days of graduation. It's 95% within 180 days of graduation, depends how you look at it. And that's in a fully paid junior developer role. And then also the first salary that we see post bootcamp is actually, it's a little higher than this now as of like last month, but it's around $53,000. So for doing something for 12 weeks and that being like the first salary that we see, we are pretty proud of that number. And of course, a good developer makes a lot more than that within, a few years on the job.
Yeah. Well, the ones that I have make it a lot more than this now that I've had them for a little while. So yeah. I think it's great, right? You've got to get in there. Usually developers, like every year you're getting an increase, and it's usually a significant amount, right? Because they want to then maintain you as long as you've done a great job. I can tell you that it usually grows at $10,000 increments roughly per year, right? So let's just say we used 55. It'd be 65 the next year, 75, 80, and it does go at that pace. And if you really blow it out, some people make even bigger leaps. So we've had to top up even more than that if someone's really killing it. So that's what I find exciting, is that it's very rewarding very quickly, and it's extremely fast paced from a career standpoint.
Exactly. Actually, right now my wife is just started a program in a college for 2-year program. So multiple computer programming issues they are covering, but it takes 2 years. I don't have that much time. So what I'm looking is I'm comfortable with IT things, so we can react faster than that. She's investing more time. I want to invest less time but we'll see the result. I don't know.
Yeah. No, this is why this program, I'm excited because I'm like you, I'm impatient. I like things to happen now. The fact that in 3 months you can come out, and by the way, it's 93% 120 days. We have Clint who just came out. We had him on television 2 days ago now.
Mhm.
2 days ago, obviously for Remembrance Day. So we can also send you those links and you can hear his story. It's great. He also wrote an article, which I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Very, very inspiring. And like he'll be, I don't even think he'll have the graduation done and he'll be doing his first interviews. That's how fast it is. And of course, I'm going to push every relationship that I have on top of what great work Lighthouse already does.
Perfect.
So there we go. That was a lead into the career services. Look at that dovetail.
Yeah, so a large part of this program is definitely the career services program. As I said before a little bit, like our guiding belief is that most of your training is actually going to be learned on the job. And that your first year working as a software developer can be seen as paid, highly intensive training. So the main function of the CS portion is to help you land your first job as a developer. So what we're going to do is behind the scenes, we're going to send out your resume and promote you to all sorts of employers in the location of your choice. It's definitely a little bit new now because you don't have to stick to the city that you're living in. And Ollie, I believe, are you located in Toronto?
In Oakville, close.
Oakville, okay, perfect. Yeah, exactly. So we definitely, like, we're a lot more open now to sending out resumes to just really wherever you want to work. But being in Toronto is the best spot for looking for a developer job. They're also going to help you with scheduling and following up with interviews on your behalf. As I mentioned, starting in week 5, we're going to host workshops like resume writing, resume reviews, technical interviews, and all sorts of stuff like that. And they're also there to provide support and advice for situations around networking, relocation, salary negotiation, and all of that. And the other thing is, like, you have career services with Lighthouse Labs for life. So in a couple of years, if you decide that you've gotten the most out of the job that you have and you want to move on, you can just reach back out to our team and we'll help you find your next role.
Okay, perfect.
So yeah, on the wellness side, and this is it's one of these pieces where we wanted to make sure that we had it, obviously, of people who had been serving members and stuff like that have had a whole bunch of different experiences, and some may have things like PTSD or depression or dependencies or things of that nature. We wanted to make sure that there was no soldier left behind, that we had the right mentorship. So we have 2 doctors, psychologists on staff as well that they give their time as part of this to help through. And we have had some people, even in the sign up process, of just the uncertainty of doing something new and helping them mentally get through that. And sometimes sometimes you need pep talk. That doesn't have to be necessarily super crazy. Just, hey, I'm really busy and I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but you might just need 20 minutes of like, hey, you're doing well, boom, boom, boom. And then of course you've got us, like the people on this phone. So you have both sort of the professional side of it, but then also just people who have either served or part of the program or whatever that can say, hey, what do you need? All that sort of stuff. We make sure that you've got all the tools that you need to be highly successful, because 93 is pretty impressive, but we're shooting for 100% success rate out of the camp. Right. So that's what we're shooting for. So eligibility, we talked about this. I'm going to go to bat. Actually your timing is kind of good with COVID. Normally governments can be pretty, how can I say it? Stickler for their processes. I think we have a good shot. I don't want to promise anything, but I'm going to go to bat to see if we can make an exception. I'm going to push it on the NATO side. And the fact that you worked with NATO, which is, to me, as kin you can get to being a Canadian soldier. So I will fight on that. And then also, obviously, the prosperity of Ontario and how you're going to be able to contribute back when we do have a deficit right now for technologists. So I've got my talk track. I'm going to fight really hard for that. Hopefully, I can get that done in short order. Jen and I will work on that today. So we will get all your details to them, with the exception. So Jen will work with me on that right after this, and we'll start that process.
I don't know if you can use it, but my file is still open. I have an application for Royal Canadian Air Force, but obviously it's not progressing for some time now. I don't know, but it should be okay because we are serving under the NATO. That's my background. Currently, I'm a Canadian, or let me say, on the way to be a Canadian, right?
Yep,
So,
absolutely. Well, if I had my way, it would just be a simple yes. But yeah, we'll go through it, and we'll just talk about once I get that approval. This is the process that Alex will work through you, which is fairly short. There's only sort of 2 rounds to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's an online application, and Jen will send that over to you today. So definitely fill that out. It's just pretty short, asking for some basic information about you. Once that's complete, we'll invite you in for a group interview. And
okay.
You just get to sort of like hear why other people are taking the program and ask a couple questions to our admissions team. After that, there is a short technical interview. And then at the end of that, Roland will just give you a call and get to know you.
Perfect.
Awesome. So that was the presentation. It's pretty short and sweet and to the point. The fact that you do already kind of understand how something like Python works, classes, whatnot. Really, it's like, you know, if you have an aptitude already for learning languages, this is kind of, you know, going to be probably a fairly easy transition. JavaScript is probably one of the easier languages to run once you get your head wrapped around how it works. It's good. I think Python's actually a lot harder. So we will go from there. But I'll turn it over to you, Ali, to ask any questions you might have.